Okay, so today we're going to talk about Jefferson's presidency. The key words you need to know are the ones in red, and the blue is the definitions you need to write down afterwards. So, Jefferson becomes president with the election of 1800. Now, we talked about some of this yesterday with John Adams and him losing this election, but today we're going to focus mainly on Jefferson and Burr. So, if you recall, we mentioned Jefferson and Burr, they tie for presidency. It goes to House of Representatives to decide who won the election. Hamilton gives Jefferson the votes he needs to become president after Jefferson agrees to keep Hamilton's economic plan to keep all the national banks. Because of this issue with this presidency, Congress passes what becomes the 12th Amendment, which makes it so a president must choose his running mate, and they are elected together. So we don't have an issue like we did before with this election with Jefferson and Burr both tying and having to be decided who was going to be president. So, remember, we talked about this as a peaceful revolution. The Federalists had control of Congress, had control of the presidency. They didn't have to turn it over to Democrat Republicans, but they did. And so you have this peaceful transfer of power, peaceful revolution, because you have power going from one political party to another. And this showed that our American system, our democracy, our republic, was actually going to work and be successful. So, we talked about with Adams the midnight judges, with him putting all of these Federalist judges in positions on his last night in office to screw over Jefferson. Well, when Jefferson becomes president, he's having to put these papers in effect so these people actually get their jobs. Well, he tells Madison, his Secretary of State, to lose these papers. Alright, Marbury, he's one of the judges that was appointed. He is upset, he is angry about this, so he sues the U.S. for his position. He sues them because he's supposed to have gotten this judge, and they're refusing to give it to him. Well, it goes to the Supreme Court in what's known as Marbury versus Madison. The Supreme Court rules that the Judiciary Act of 1789 was actually in conflict with the Constitution and was unconstitutional, so Marbury technically was not allowed to bring this to the Supreme Court in the first place, so the issue is void. The big thing to remember about this court case isn't what happens, but that it establishes the process of judicial review, which allows the Supreme Court to decide if laws made by Congress and the President are actually legal by Constitution standards or not. So, Jefferson's president. Jefferson has this view of democracy called Jeffersonian democracy. He champions this idea that the common man should be allowed to vote. Not just anybody that has property, but any white male in the U.S. should be allowed to vote. And this would create more participation in government and be more equal for everybody. He believed that educating people would get them better prepared to participate in government, so we needed to educate the poor people to teach them about government, and they would actually be able to make smart and decisive decisions. And he wanted a meritocracy. This is a system where people advance based on their merits, not on whoever had the most money could get the best job. Jefferson also believed in laissez-faire economics. He believed that the government should not use tariffs or regulations to interfere in the natural operation of the economy, that the economy, for it to thrive, should be allowed to do its own thing. It's the idea of survival of the fittest, that the best will survive, the weak are meant to fail, and that's just how economics is supposed to work. He also believed that the future of America was agrarian, that the future was in farming and cash crops, and not in industrialized states, not in industry, buildings, factories, and all that stuff. He believed farming was the way of the future. So, Jefferson and his views on slavery, he believed it would ultimately fail. He believed that government didn't need to regulate slavery, government didn't need to get involved, because with advancements in technology that was helping with farming, because remember he was big in farming, he believed that slavery would become obsolete and that there was nothing he needed to do. Now, he did, however, pressure Congress to ban the importation of new slaves and limit its advancement into new territories. to keep it from spreading, just keep it contained where it was. He believed slavery was morally wrong. However, he was a slave owner, so you have some of that hypocrisy there. Now, the big issue is you have the scandal erupt when he is present, known as the Sally Hemings scandal. It was reporting in the newspapers and everything that Jefferson was having relations with one of his slaves, and the issue is the slave was actually the half-sister to his wife. So there was some blood relations between his wife and her and everything. Now, Jefferson, he doesn't acknowledge these rumors. He doesn't say anything during the presidency. He just lets them happen, but he never acknowledges them because it helps save his career. Now, today, with modern technology, DNA tests, we do know that these rumors were actually true and that there are a percentage of African Americans today that can trace their heritage back to Thomas Jefferson. So, Aaron Burr, he's Jefferson's vice president and everything. Him and Hamilton did not get along that well, and it didn't help when Hamilton made Burr lose the presidential election. So, Aaron Burr challenges Hamilton to a duel. Hamilton fires his gun in the air. Burr thinks he shot at him, so Burr shoots and ends up killing Hamilton. The Federalist Party loses their most influential political leader for their party, and they will end up dying off about 10 years later. Burr, he's now killed a government official. Even though he was vice president, he does get pardoned for this and everything. He's allowed to finish up his term, but he doesn't run with Jefferson when Jefferson gets reelected. He does, however, go to the West to kind of escape it all and live in the West, and he ends up trying to create his own country. He tries to seize territory in Louisiana and make his own country. He does get in trouble with that, gets arrested, but he gets educated from that and just lives out the rest of his life. So, going from all the stuff happening in domestic issues and everything, now we're going to look at the foreign issues. So, there are these pirates in the Mediterranean Sea called the Barbary Pirates. We have been paying them tribute ever since we formed as a country. England had been protecting us with their navy, but when we broke away from them, they stopped doing that. The French protected us with their navy, but we had a falling out with them, remember, with the XYZ affair and the quasi-war. So we were paying these pirates tribute. We were giving them a set amount of money, a couple tens, thousands of dollars a year, for protection. They wouldn't attack our ships in the Mediterranean and everything. Well, they decide, the Pasha of Tripoli, their pirate prince, decides to charge us $225,000. He wants to raise the price. Jefferson just flat out says, I'm not going to pay this. So, the Pasha declares war on us. We go to war with these pirates. We're fighting a very successful war for 4 years and everything. We're winning, but we still end up paying tribute till 1815 when we send another naval fleet out there and we finally squash the pirates and everything, and it ends. Now, you have the Barbary Pirates and everything that's happening in the Mediterranean. What's happening in the home front? Napoleon, he's fighting his wars and everything in Europe. He had hopes of forming an overseas country over here in Louisiana and everything, but when the Haiti Revolution happens and the slaves revolt in Haiti and they kick out the French, that ends all hopes of him having an overseas empire. So he's willing to sell Louisiana to us. He needs more money to help fund his war. Alright, Americans, we have this territory right here. We got Ohio as a state. We want more and more territory. The Americans are hungry to expand, and so Jefferson's tasked with finding more territory to help that. Jefferson only wants this area down here. He just wants Louisiana. He offers $10 million to Napoleon for this territory. Napoleon comes back and goes, I will give you all this territory for $15 million. That's less than 3 cents an acre. So, Jefferson agrees to it, even though he doesn't have the constitutional authority to do so. We purchase it, it doubles the size of the U.S., and Americans get this idea in their head that they are destined to control all of North America, that God wants them to control from sea to shining sea. Now, there is some controversy over the purchase. Jefferson, he believes in a strict interpretation. Remember, we talked about this. He believed that if the Constitution didn't say it word by word, that you couldn't do it. He used a loose interpretation to make this purchase. So this leads to accusations of hypocrisy, especially from the Federalists. The Federalists oppose this purchase because they're afraid that farmers are going to move into this territory and they're going to get more powerful, and the Democrat Republicans are going to end up running Congress and everything. The Federalists are going to decrease in power.